Hi, everybody. It's Marcy from wavesofcommunication.com, and I am here live with my newest segment, which I'm calling Language Facilitation Tools for Parents. And today I'm going to be talking about how to use books for language facilitation with your late talking child. If this is the first video that you have watched of mine, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Marcy Melzer, and I am an intuitive speech and language pathologist consultant. And I work online training parents in how to use language facilitation to help their late talking children learn to use the words that they want to say to share all of their wisdom with the world. And I do that in my Waves of Communication parent coaching programs and on my YouTube channel, Waves of Communication, and here on Facebook in all of the videos that I do. So if you're interested in watching more videos, there are more than 160 now over on my YouTube channel. I also have an independent study course I just released and face-to-face programs so you can learn how to work with me on my website, wavesofcommunication.com. Okay, let's get into today's tools for parents, where I am talking about using books for language facilitation. Now, most families have books, and I know a lot of speech therapists talk to families about using books for language facilitation. What I'm going to do in this video is give you some tools to use books as sort of a way to help you use your language facilitation strategies. So it's not so much about the book as it is about using books as an opportunity for you to facilitate language, because language facilitation happens during all of the activities that you do with your child, even from the time that they ask you for something to the times that you're playing with and toys and reading books and things like that. So again, all the language facilitation strategies that I provide are designed to help parents take advantage of opportunities to expose your child to the right words, the right way, at the right time, which is what language facilitation is. So the first strategy, the first tool I want to talk about is how to get children interested in books in the first place. And sometimes there are late talkers out there who aren't even reading books at all. So if that's your case, you're going to want to start to choose your books carefully. So the first tip that I have for all families is to choose the books that you use carefully. Yeah, it's a good idea maybe to get ones that your child is interested in the topic. If your child likes trains, get a book about trains. If your child likes Peppa Pig, get a book about Peppa Pig, things like that. So choosing a topic that is going to be interesting to your child. But something that's actually more important than the topic of the book is actually the pictures in the book. So there's a couple things that get kids interested in looking at a book. One thing is when books have things to manipulate with them. So this is a book, a real young toddler kind of size book. It doesn't matter. Books are written for levels of ability and reading ability and interest, not necessarily for the age of the child. So simple books with simple language and simple pictures are always going to be the way to start with a child to get them interested in books in the first place. And if you have a book like this little Pat the Bunny book, every page has something different to do on it. So, and this one has an imitation. So there's you see the little girl, it says Jane can look in the mirror, and then here's a little mirror for the kids to look in. This page has Jane reading the book, and then here's a little book with some pages that the child can read. Whenever a book has something to manipulate about it, that can add interest for your child if they're not interested in sitting to read a story, because we're not going to use these books, especially at first with language facilitation, as just to get through the story. We're using them, remember, as an opportunity to facilitate language. So we're going to use all of the things about this book to talk about. So the first thing is maybe it's a new book, it's a book you just got, and the fact that you just had a book arrive in your household is a great thing to talk about too. We just got a new book. Let's look at this new book. Just the fact that it's new is interesting. All right, let's get back into talking about these books. So the books you can start with if child's not interested in books are books you can do things with. Sometimes the touch and feely books help. Sometimes the books you can do. I have another one here that actually has, as part of it, there's a little activity that has some magnets. So you can take the magnets out, and the pages are magnetic, so you match the magnet to the space on it, and they'll stick. So this is another sort of activity book where you have opportunity way more than just looking at the pictures and reading. Okay, and the other thing, before you even get into reading and looking at the pictures, I'm going to go back to my little one again, is to practice with turning pages. And these pages, these books that do a little something that you can interact with, a touch and feel, or a texture, or even just turning the page and touching the picture, are going to be helpful for you. So the way you work with a child on turning pages with a book is, again, you're going to use always the language for it. It's a book. Open book, turn the page. Even though it's the first one that you open, you are turning the page. And I'm holding all the pages with this hand, and I'm letting this one go. And I'm going to let the child open the page, so they turn the page. Look, girl, boy. All right, so then you're going to turn the page and just look at the picture. This one has a touchy. Turn the page. We're not reading the story. We're just getting through the book and just touching one thing or doing a little something. Go as slow or as fast as your child wants, but only let them turn one page at a time. Turn the page. Oops, only one page. Turn the page. And there's going to be things on here that your child may see or not. Oh, look, here's a guy. Turn the page. Oh, look, here's a book. Turn the page. So you're showing your child, this is how we're going to read this book together. We're not even doing it yet. We're just going to turn the page and look, and turn the page and look, and turn the page and look. And this is how we read a book. So if your child's not interested in books at all, choosing a book of a topic that's going to be interesting to them, that they might interact with, in the future, is good. But at first, you have to even show them how to read a book with you. So that's where you're going to start. And then you're going to choose books that have really nice pictures. Now, I myself am a big fan. I always was, as when I was doing therapy and learning new vocabulary and going easy with books, to do these first word kinds of books that when you open them, they have, whoops, stuck on the thing, that they have simple single pictures. And this one's kind of nice because it has some single pictures over here on this side. I'm trying to get my straight. Some single pictures on this side, and then sort of a compilation picture over here where you can talk about a single thing one at a time and touch it, and in this case match that picture. Obviously the duck doesn't belong here, but you can match it when it goes to its page, things like that. So you're talking about a single thing on every page with these first words. And then it moves into reading the story, even if it's not a story, if it's a single thing on a page, but even if it is a story, like I brought a story like this, Bread and Jam for Francis, a book I read when I was a little girl, and I had for my little girls now who are big girls. But every page has this page has a lot of words, right? So this is going to be a more advanced book, but you can still read this kind of book the same way that you read this kind of book first, okay? Because before we even get into reading the words, first, we're going to always read the book with the pictures. So you want to choose a book that has some very good pictures. I'll pull this guy out again, that has a simple picture on a page, because the first way you're going to go through the book to actually read it is only with the pictures at all. You don't look at the words at all, because most late talkers are not readers. And if they are readers, reading may be, you know, it's another way to communicate, right? We're working for verbal speech here, and we're kind of, in most cases, helping kids transfer from visual communication behaviors taking you places to listening to words. And the way you connect a book like that is by connecting what a child sees on the page with words that you say in the most simple way. So when you look at the book very beginning, this book is about Pat the bunny. So you can talk about, this is a bunny book, right? You're going to read through this book by looking at the pictures using your own language at the level where your child can pay attention and listen to your words. The right words are the words that your child would be saying in their head as they look at the picture with you. That's why books are a great language facilitation tool, because you're both looking at the same picture. You're saying the word of the thing that you see, and so is your child seeing it. So you're seeing it and saying it at the same time. It's like flashcards. Here's a whole stack of flashcards, really, is what it is. But it is a book, and it has a finite end, and you can have access to it over and over and over again. So this is how you use a book to facilitate learning new vocabulary and teaching your child, is you're going to read the story of the book. So even this book that doesn't have a story to it, it just has individual objects on the page like this. This has a story too. The story is, I see it, right? So you say, oh, these magnets keep sticking on me, guys. Sorry about that. Let me turn to another page. Okay, so here's a great one. An I see it page. So the story of this book is, I see a bike. I see girl push baby. I see scooter. And you don't even have to say the I see part. The story of this page is scooter. And then there's other things, like I said, in this page, you can take the magnets and put them on this page, but there are pictures on this page too. So the story of this page is, no objects here, no toys here, toys here, no toys here. This is a story. Even though it's just a vocabulary word book, I'm making up the story by saying the words that we're using while we explore these pictures and magnets and objects and stuff. And when I do it with this book, I explore the pictures by saying, you know, I'm going to open it up and I'm going to say, you know, there's a whole thing here. You know, Judy can play peekaboo with Paul. Now you play peekaboo with Paul. And we're not even going to go there yet. We're not even looking at the words. You're going to open it and go, look, girl, peekaboo, boy, girl, peek, boy. You're using your language facilitation, the words that you see in the picture, and then you go, oh, you peek, peek, boy, peek, peek, move it, lift it. I see boy. So I'm making up my own story just by playing with the pictures on this book, okay? Just by talking about them. And if the story is more complex, the picture is more complex, but I'm not going to read these words even. If a child just brought me this book, a nonverbal child, because maybe it has Peppa Pig on it and they like Peppa Pig, but there's no way they could sit and listen to this whole story, I'm going to look at the picture and I'm going to say, look, girl, eat, girl, juice, girl, mama, girl, mama, sit, chair, sit, table, girl, sit, table, mama, sit, table, eat breakfast, drink mama coffee, girl, juice. So this is how I'm going to read this story. Okay, just because the author wrote the book with a beautiful, beautiful story in it doesn't mean that that's what you have to do if that's not where your child is. Because you can use this same book to move up the avenue, to move up the language facilitation. So it doesn't really matter what book, but this is how you're going to approach it. The first time you go through the book, you're going to read the story your way, just looking at the pictures. touching, manipulating, showing your child, just reading the story. What's on this page? Explore the book together, right? This is how you're going to do it. Explore the book together with the pictures, all right? And then if your child is, interested in reading the story, or if you've read the story before and your child's waiting for you to read the story, then okay, it's appropriate, obviously, to go into the next level would be actually reading the story. So you get your book out and you're going to read very slowly and very carefully, and make sure you say all of the words the right way. The first time you read it must be the super clearest the child has ever read it. And if you have heard the child a bunch of times, the way you go back to language facilitation is read it super carefully. So I'm going to read a couple pages so you learn how to do it. Pat the bunny. Pat the bunny. I did it 2 times. I said it slowly. I only said 3 words, and I had a little pause in the middle. And I touched each word. And then I'm going to touch the picture. Pat the bunny. Pat the bunny. Pat, pat, pat. So I haven't even opened the book and I'm already starting to read like this. This is how we're going to go through. It takes a long time to read a book this way, and sometimes your child may not pay attention, and that's okay. You read each page as if it's a brand new exposure to an opportunity. We're not here to get through the book. I mean, that can be your goal, is to get through the book, but just getting through the book by reading fast or getting through the book by turning the pages is a good step. So if you want to get through the book, then you got to go back to the previous strategy I just did and just turn each page. We made it through the book. We read the whole book together. Put the book away. The next time you get it out, now we're going to read the story very, very carefully, each page. Here are Paul and Judy. Here they are, Paul and Judy. They can do lots of things. They can do lots of things, right? So you can do each line twice or each one. And then you, the person I'm reading to, can do lots of things too. So you show your child that the book is interactive. You're making the book interactive. So this is how you teach your child not to be a passive listener while you're like reading the story. Okay, so when after you go through and read the story with the pictures, and then you go back and you look at it, then the first time you actually read the story with the words, this is why you must choose a very short book to begin with, because it has to be really, really easy words. If your child goes, you can't jump from this to this. You can't jump, to these paragraphs reading like that. You're going to have to do a lot more. You're going to have to spend a lot more time with a book like this, reading the pictures, because the pictures are more complex. So all those things I talked about, the mom, the girls sitting at the table and all of that stuff, that's more complex language than a nonverbal child who needs a very simple book. So again, you might have these books in your household and your child may be using them, and you can use them once in a while, but these simple books, upside down, are going to be the ones that you're going to be going back to over and over and over again, and that your child might bring you over and over and over again to read the same story very, very slowly, with pauses in between. And what this does is it allows your child to process what the words mean. We're not worried about decoding. We're not worried about we're not reading. We're exploring this book together. So that's kind of the difference you need to understand between, this activity I'm talking about here on this video is not to teach your child to read. It's to teach your child to use verbal language using books, okay? So that's just the difference you need to understand. So once you get to that point and you're reading the story super slow and your child has heard it, then you start to add a little bit of inflection and character into the reading. So, like I said, here's the peekaboo page, Judy can play peekaboo with Paul. Judy play peekaboo, peekaboo. You know, I made that thing. I did the gesture. I did it over here, and you do it over here. Peek, peek, peekaboo. You know, even if you do it with your hand, peekaboo, peekaboo. You know, make these kinds of characters come alive when you're reading the story. And this is going to keep your child's attention. So now you are looking at the picture together, the same picture at the same time. You've got your child's attention because you're talking very slowly and very carefully through all of the pictures. Then you read the story very carefully, keeping their attention. And then if it starts to get too long, like, oh no, it's, you know, because it seems like it's tedious and the child's in a hurry and they want to get over, to keep their attention, then you got to get interactive and you got to bring the book to them and let them interact with the characters by making the face of the whatever guy, or, you know, changing your thing. But it still has to be slow and carefully said. So peekaboo, peekaboo, peekaboo. You can do all of that and it still sounds good, like peekaboo. But what it does is catch your child's attention. So emulate the character in the book a little bit, you know, and talk about it. And whenever your child, the reason you put these pauses in is to allow your child to get a word in edgewise. So if you're just reading the story page after page after page after page after page, your child doesn't have a chance to put in commentary and do whatever. And they might want you to keep reading, keep reading, keep reading if that's what you've done before, and they might try to stop you from slowing down, but that's okay. Just do it anyway, because make it fun. Do it slow and engaging and whatever. And it's kind of like when you change the subject in the middle of a conversation and you go off and tell a joke and people are locked on your every word, but you're not talking about what you used to be talking about. That's what kids will try to do. Late talkers will try to change the subject on you to try to get you onto their agenda because they're not following you or they're not with you, or you're trying to teach them and they want to do it. And if they try to fade away from you, you got to amp up that character. You got to amp up the fun in this book to get the child back here to do it. And if they do walk away from you when you start to read, take that as a sign as you missed it. Like you missed that opportunity to keep them with you. The only way a child's going to stay with you and listen to the book is if they're entertained and curious and learning at the same time. Because if they're just like listening to you in the background, they could be distracted and looking around the room while you're reading. You want to make sure that this is your language facilitation effort. If you're in my course, if you're taking my online course, this book activity is going to supercharge you to be able to use your language facilitation talk while you're reading a book like this. So then you'll know exactly how to do it. All right, so then you're going to use lots of inflection and character in your voice. And then after you finish it, you want to discuss the pictures again. And sometimes books will have, you know, pictures on the back or all the characters at the end. This one doesn't, but I think this one does. Yeah, so this particular book has a ton of super busy stuff going on. There's all kinds of words and all kinds of things all over the place. This is going to be a book that is going to be challenging for language facilitation because there's so many things on the page. It's going to be challenging for you to joint focus with your child. However, if your child is already verbal and interested in finding their own things, books like this can be a great way for you to use a book to follow your child's lead, okay? So after you finish reading the story, you can always go back and discuss it by talking about the pictures on the cover or on the back or in the back page, or the characters as they introduce them in the front. Like here's just one of the characters in there that you won't recognize when you first start the story, but you will when you're done. So after you finish the story, you can go back and look at the pictures and sort of discuss it, kind of like a discussion about it. That was a fun story. I liked it when Joe did whatever. I liked it when or I was scared when they, or, you know, whenever you have feelings or whatever, you can discuss. With a verbal child, they'll be able to engage. Now, in a story like this that has lots of different things happening on a page, this is about a field trip. where all the kids are asking questions, but there all the kinds of crazy stuff happens in the story, like a kid throws up and another one cries and misses his mom, and the teachers are trying to teach. It's a really cool book with lots and lots of different stuff going on in it. And your late talker, who's maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, may look at a book like this and they're going to be drawn to something completely different than you will. Maybe they're drawn to just this word that says wow, and it's a word they like, and all of these things on the pictures, and your child's drawn to that one word, wow. Then that's a great way for you to also focus on this. So the next step, like the final step on a word, on a book, after you have known it so well that you've told the story yourself, you've made it up, you've gone through the words, you've discussed it afterwards, the next task that you want to try to get your child to do is to tell you the story. So next time they bring you the book, you're going to do your language facilitation a number of times before your child's going to be able to do this. But once you have, once it's a story that your child knows very well, then you're going to encourage them to tell you the story. And you go through the very easiest thing, the telling the story with the pictures. So when you look at the first picture, you can ask your child questions that you know they know the answers to solve, like in the picture. So, you know, in the peekaboo one, you can say, you know, who is under the blanket? The boy, you know, that kind of stuff. And that may be what you said before. What's he gonna say? Peekaboo. And you're always gonna, in language facilitation, both give the question and the answer while you're doing the book together. And these questions can assist your child as they try to tell you the story by, you know, repeating questions that they asked you before, or asking them questions like they are the teacher. You know, where is the boy? And they'll show you, and you can provide them with words to provide the answers to the questions that you asked. So if you say, where is the boy? And the child flips it up, you say, under the blanket. So you've provided the question and the answer to explore the book together and assist your child as they teach you the story. They tell it back to you. And that's how they go. And even if your child is nonverbal, you can ask them to tell you the story non-verbally by touching, turn the page, and everything they touch and point to and look at you to confirm non-verbally, you provide them with the right words, the right way, right there then at the right time. So your child doesn't have to be verbal to go through a story and direct it. So they're telling you the story by non-verbally looking at these things, and you're providing them with language. We're not prompting kids to say the words, and we're not prompting kids to identify the pictures in language facilitation either. We're just exploring the book and talking about it together, just as if it were a walk in the park or bath time or getting dressed. We're going to talk about using the right words the right way at the right time for all the things that you see in the book and all the experiences that you have while you enjoy the book together. And that's how you do language facilitation with books, everybody. So thanks for joining me on this video. I so appreciate your attention, all your likes, your shares. If you're watching me on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, please, so that you're able to see all of my videos. There's 2 or 3 new videos every week that go up. And this summer, I am focused on teaching families strategies to facilitate language yourselves all summer with your kids while they're home and you're enjoying your summertime. And if I haven't forgotten about you over on the other hemisphere, over your winter holidays over there, you'll be able to do a lot of language facilitation using these strategies too. So if it's getting chilly where you are and you're in the southern hemisphere, you can snuggle up with a book and enjoy some wonderful language facilitation time with your kids this winter. So thanks again for joining me, everybody, and I will see you all on my next live video.